Hello and welcome to a new video. I am Reddit Asks You, and today we are getting into some am I the arsehole? Let's get into the stories. And in the comments let us know your opinions. From Ken Tulpo. For context, my brother, 26M, and I, 18F, have never gotten along. He's hated me since before I was even born. He spent my entire childhood controlling everything I did, watched, and even ate. At Christmas he pissed me off. I was quite proud of myself for buying my first vehicle all on my own. He called my truck a POS. Then said to our parents, insurance companies statistically have higher rates for female drivers than males. He was absolutely insinuating they shouldn't put me on their policy. Simply because he's been on their policy since he turned 16 and has never paid for insurance. He knew damn well he was getting bumped off when I was added. First of the year, our mom told him to get his own policy. He was pretty salty about that. Fast forward to this past weekend, it was our dad's birthday. Honestly, I didn't even want to go and sit through my brother's usual bullshit about how great he is. But I went, and as usual pretty much remained quiet. My brother asks, "So when are you moving out?" I was like, "Excuse me?" He says, "You're 18 now, you need to get out on your own now." Literally no one said anything, so I told him it's none of his business. He says, "Well, I moved out at 19. Here's where things spiraled. I said to him, "You're not even on your own yet since you haven't bothered paying a single penny of rent in 7 years. He was fuming and tried changing the topic. My mom made a comment about that soon changing. Brother's girlfriend was like, "What?" So I told her, he moved out at 19 and hasn't paid our parents a penny of rent all these years. She was livid. Unbeknownst to anyone at that table, she had been paying my brother rent for 2 years because he led her to believe he was paying rent. The topic went off somewhere else. Then right back to me. My brother trying to give me fatherly advice by saying I should focus on my current job and forget wasting time with college. This was absolutely unsolicited advice. It pisses me off when he does this because he always does it, and acts like because of our age gap he has so much more knowledge than stupid ass me. He again comments about me moving out, says to our dad, "I can't believe you haven't kicked her out after she brought all those animals in your house." They both laugh. I had enough. I got up from the table and yelled, "Just leave me the fuck alone." My mom understood, but she doesn't want the family to fight. My dad said I was extremely rude by lashing out, caused a scene, made undue stress and embarrassed everyone. Apparently after I walked out, my brother says, "Well, she obviously has something wrong in her head." I felt bad because I'm sure a few kids dining with their families heard me, and I shouldn't have cussed in front of them. And, I guess I should have held it in and dealt with it later, but I've always let this crap slide and I was sick of it. Aita? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. My family and I went out to dinner for my dad's birthday. I guess I just had enough of the constant verbal insults and I snapped. I yelled at my brother to just leave me the fuck alone. Then I walked out and never returned to eat. I wasn't embarrassed in the heat of the moment, I was just mad because I don't feel like I get any respect. I later felt bad because I'm sure a few kids overheard me. And I realized I should have dealt with it later, but really nothing ever gets done about his behavior towards me. In the end scheme of things, I didn't achieve anything. So I feel like the AH. From Throwaway. Throwaway because girlfriend is a Redditor. I, 24M, am Canadian and have been in the US for 10 months, where I have been living with my American girlfriend, 25F, for 7 of them. My time in the US is almost up, and I'm stressing about having to return to Canada. For one, my family is reliant on me to make money to support my grandma and pay for her medical support. I also want to earn money to give my girlfriend, she deserves the world. Because I have so many side hustles going on to earn money, I admittedly don't spend a lot of time with my girlfriend, but I've always been open with her that I am not able to give her a lot of attention right now even though I love her more than anything. My girlfriend lost her job last month, and as a result has been at the house more often. We live in a 1-bedroom and split the rent evenly. She understands that I'm busy all day/night, but I don't like when she's sitting in the same room as me. Even her presence is distracting to me. She will try to start conversations and she's not the cleanest, so I would ask her to go to the bedroom for the day while I worked in the living room at my desktop. She was okay with that for a few weeks, but began to complain that she was stuck in the bedroom. She says that since she's paying half the rent, she has every right to be where she wants to be in the house. I agree. So, after a few big fights, we agreed she would leave the house during the day and I would leave the house at night. Well, now she's upset that she's spending all day out of the house. Her car was in an accident last month and has been in the shop, so she's been going to do work in the boba shop by our house. Before anyone asks, I am not able to do the work I do during the day outside of the house, which is why I leave in the evening. Today, my friend was over and was sitting on the couch, where my girlfriend usually eats lunch. I say couch, but it's really an oversized love seat. My girlfriend went to go sit in her usual spot to eat lunch, but I asked her if she could eat in the kitchen instead so she would have more room to eat. She went to the kitchen, but I could tell she was pissed. When I asked her if everything was okay, she said she was tired of me controlling her. I think she's being selfish and not considering that I need a certain environment to concentrate and get work done, and that I am doing all of this for her and my family, and one day I will be able to spend all the time in the world with her, but that right now I am really grinding and most strong relationships are built on sacrifice. So, aita for asking my girlfriend to accommodate my work schedule? From unsupportive sister. I, 24F, got engaged to Derek, 30M, 1 month ago. Prior to that, we had known each other for 6 months. I know that's not a long time, but when you know, you know. We are madly in love and ready to commit ourselves to each other fully. My sister, 26F, has a problem with that though. She was supportive of my relationship with Derek before we got engaged. When I sent her a text telling her we were engaged, she responded by saying congratulations. But then when I saw her the week after that, she got all serious and said I should strongly consider the marriage. She told me I was young and could meet people I loved more. That was offensive to me because I love Derek more than anything, and she's basically saying my love isn't that important. She also told me that Derek and I could date for longer before we got married. But we are already fully committed to each other, so we might as well get married and be recognized as soulmates in the eyes of the law. Anyway, the conversation was so hurtful to me. I eventually asked her, very directly, "Do you support me marrying Derek?" She said no. So I stood up, told her she shouldn't be at the wedding if she didn't want us to get married, and left. I haven't talked to her since, although she has texted me multiple times asking to talk. Derek and I were working on the wedding guest list yesterday, and we both agreed my sister should not come if she doesn't support us. So we are planning not to invite her. I mentioned this to my friend yesterday, and she pointed out that it may be a little rude of me not to invite her. So, aita for not inviting my unsupportive sister to my wedding? From Headmickle 492. I, 37F, have 6 kids, 15F, 13M, 11M, 9F, and 6F, 2M, with my husband, 37M. Recently, one of my sisters, 31F, asked to temporarily move in with us because of repairs being done to her home, which is not up to code. She has a husband, 31M, and a son, 10M. My nephew is not a good kid, he's a bully and frequently misbehaves. However, I decided to let her family stay anyways. Our 13 years old is autistic, he's a very bright boy and actually quite popular, but he still struggles with sensory issues, social interactions, etc. As I mentioned, he's still popular and social, mainly because he's an athlete. Our son plays baseball and lacrosse and is friends with the popular group of athlete boys in his school. These boys do everything together, they hang out pretty much every day until bedtime, they help each other with homework, play video games, etc. It's really sweet how close they are. The boys helped manage my son's successful run for school president and are always each other's biggest supporters. Our son is closer to these boys than he is to family. Our son doesn't like hugs, except for these boys, he tells them secrets he doesn't tell family. My nephew seems to have an issue with this, and has pushed my son's boundaries since arriving. Yesterday, I was dropping off my son at one of his friends' houses. The boy he is friends with collects all sorts of stuff, including fragile busts of athletes. My sister and her son decided to tag along with us while dropping him off. It turns out that my nephew is in the same class as this boy's sister. Judging from the stories I've heard, my son's friend's sister is also a little terror. My son went with his friend, my nephew with his friend, while we sat in the car talking to the mom of the boy and girl. While we were sitting, the boys come rushing out to tell us that while they had left the room to go in kitchen, my nephew went in the boys' room and was touching with stuff. He ended up breaking 2 busts. Thankfully, with the boys' help, we found replacements online and bought them. The total cost came to around $500, which their parents could afford, but so could my sister. My sister said she didn't want to pay for them because she didn't want to make her son feel bad for making his mom have to pay for this. The other mom went in the house, while we argued in the car. I told her that if she didn't pay back, she'd have to find someone else to stay with, so she ended up forking over the money. She told her son about it and he said we were being unfair and this wouldn't have happened if my son and his friends just did what I say. My sister is still upset at me and some of our siblings have chimed in to take her side, saying I was being too punitive on her son. Aita? From Garlic, available 1905. Apologies for the long post ahead. For some context, I, F21, have been dating my BF, M21, Ryan, for the past 7 to 8 months. He is a born American with South Asian family and I was born in South Asia, moved to the States when I was 12. My cousin Akash, M24, is visiting the town for a few days. He lives by himself in a different state and doesn't have the best relationship with his parents, so we don't see him much nowadays. Growing up, I was really close with this cousin and a few others who are basically siblings to me since we all lived in the same block back in our home country. My parents invited him over for dinner and I drove him to my new apartment after dinner to show him my new place and hang out with 2 other cousins. My BF has met my other cousins, but not him, so he asked if he could join us and hang out and I said for sure. Akash and I were just catching up while everyone was on their way. During the conversation, a lot of our childhood stories came up and I got sentimental. We were also bonding over some of the childhood trauma we experienced and how it affected us. I started sobbing as I was telling him how much I missed our group and I'm so happy we are all gonna be together after a long time. He consoled me and patted my head saying how proud he is of me, that his little sister is now such a responsible grown-up and stuff. My BF walked into the living room at that moment and saw me leaning my head on his shoulder and crying. He blurted out, "Ayo, what in the Alabama shit is going on?" and started laughing hysterically. My face turned red in embarrassment and I could barely mumble what. Akash stood up and firmly said, "Excuse me? Do we have a problem here?" and asked me if this is my BF. Then I asked BF, "What's wrong with you? Who starts a conversation like that?" He got even more defensive and said, "Don't Desi people marry their cousins all the time? It's funny BC, it's true." Well, I didn't find it funny and was enraging with embarrassment, so I asked him to leave immediately before others get here. He tried to argue and say hi to Akash, but I didn't leave any space for explanation and held the door open until he got out. I turned my phone off when he started blasting my phone with texts demanding to speak. My other cousins arrived shortly and we all had a great time catching up. When I woke up in the morning and turned my phone on, I saw tons of missed calls and texts from my BF. He even posted some passive-aggressive stuff on social media without mentioning my name. He said how I overreacted to a very simple joke and turned him into the bad guy, and I said, if your first thought is to make such a cheap, disgusting joke in front of someone who you literally saw for the first time, then you really need to work on your humor, and hung up. I'm still very upset and embarrassed and asked Akash to not tell anyone about it yet. Was ITA here? Thank you for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe for more Reddit comment videos. Check the description for the original post from Reddit. Good luck to everyone today.